I'm going to show you how to grow trees from cuttings. I'm going to use the natural willow root starter that I showed you how to make in the other video, but I'm also going to use a store brand starter, and we're going to compare the difference to see which one is better. First you want to pick your tree. The thing is this is a mulberry, a wild mulberry. They grow everywhere around here. They're growing all through the horse pasture. They're in the woods everywhere. I could plant one of these berries, but this one's not ripe yet, but the birds are eating all the ripe ones. I could plant one of these berries and it would grow a stronger, healthier tree than you can get from a cutting. Problem is with mulberries and a lot of fruit trees is that they're not all created equally. Different mulberry trees will vary in flavor a lot. Some of them will be very muted and have hardly any flavor at all. Some will be kind of tangy and some will be very sweet. This one is got a pretty sweet fruit on it, so I want to grow a cutting from this tree so that the fruit will taste like the fruit from this tree, because if I grow it from this seed, there's no telling what it'll taste like. What you want to do, I'll cut these others off so that you can see. You want to take it and cut it right in here, right at this node. You want to keep it as close to the bottom of the last leaf as possible. So for this one, we'll get it like this. Okay. And because I need two of them for my experiment, we'll take this one as well. This one has a little bit of fruit on it. You want to remove all the fruit. Don't rip it, just go ahead and cut the fruit. And you also want to cut each leaf in half. You need to leave some leaf so that it can still try to draw some nutrient from sunlight, but you want to limit how much nutrient is being wasted by being sent to these leaves. This little piece won't need all that much. So we'll cut all the leaves in half. We'll do the same thing to the other ones. Mulberry is very good for you. It's very high in potassium. It's also a good wildlife supplement. The leaves and shrubbery from it is used to supplement a wildlife feed because there's so many minerals in mulberry. Oh, and a fruit. Right? I also want to point out that I planted these cherry tomatoes yesterday and they're transplanted. I started them in cups and in trays. Anybody that's ever fooled with transplants, you know that right after you transplant them, they always go through shock. They'll wilt, they'll look really bad, they look like they're dying. Some of them will die and you'll have to replace some. These plants, some of them were so rooted together, the ones that were in the trays, that I actually had to take a knife and cut the plants apart. I didn't think they'd make it, so I poured some of our willow root starter on the plants yesterday when I transplanted them yesterday morning to kind of help them, to just give them a little boost, and they never went through shock. I'm so surprised. They didn't go through shock at all, even the ones that I had to cut. they're still standing strong and pretty. They're doing really well. So the willow is just amazing. Another thing I did is I staked them with willow. So as the sap from this willow leaks into the ground, into the roots around these plants, it's going to also help to keep them strong and give them a good boost. Now, in here we have our willow root starter. All you have to do at this point is put your plants in the rooting water. We're going to let it sit for about 4 weeks, and we should start to see some root growth. It can take up to 8 weeks before you're ready to plant them, but in 4 weeks we should be able to see some progress. And here we have our store brand root starter, which is a very good root starter, but it's very toxic. Make sure that whatever you're using is something that you don't mind throwing away, because you're going to have to throw this away afterwards. This is just a canning jar. I can wash this and keep it because the willow is completely and totally safe. You can do these outside if it's springtime. Just be careful if you have any animals going around. You don't want them drinking the store brand root starter. If you're using the willow, that's fine. It doesn't matter if they drink it, it won't hurt them. I have dogs running around, so I'm going to do this inside, even though the weather's perfect to do it outside, because I'm using this and I don't want them to get sick. Most people try to root their cuttings in what's called soilless mix, which is usually a mixture of like sand and moss. It's just a rooting medium that's not dirt-based, because dirt promotes rot. My grandmother, who was very, very, very good at rooting cuttings, always used wet paper towels. And that's what I would be using, except that I want you to be able to see the roots growing without having to disturb them too much and unwrapping the paper towel. So I'm going to use rooting water. All this is water with our store brand root starter mixed in. And this is just the willow. All we did with the willow was cut young spring willow into 2-3 inch pieces, let it sit in water for 2 or 3 days, and we're using that water as our root starter here. We're going to leave these on the windowsill. They need some light, indirect light. Don't stress them out. Don't let them dry out. Don't let the water run out. You don't want to put them where the sun can shine directly on them. If you're doing this outside, make sure that it's indirect light and that you have them under the porch or something where they can get a little bit of light, but not a lot. For these, I'm going to put them right here on this window, and in the evenings when the sun is over there, I'll open it up and let them get some indirect light, and in the morning the sun will be through this window. I'm going to close it so they don't get too stressed. We'll give it about 4 weeks and come back and see what happens.